All right, y'all. So what's the issue here? Like, look, bro, everything is the issue. You are the issue. You're the issue. Now, when I say that, hear me out, dude. I say that you're the issue, as in the community is the issue. Do you know what? It's not really all the things that you hear about with the content and stuff like that with the game. What the real issue is with NGS, the biggest issue with it, with global and specific, is the community. The community constantly complains and complains and complains. It's one thing to complain and have constructive criticism. It's one thing to do that. It's another thing to just complain, just to complain. So often you see people just complaining. They don't even like, some people don't even play the game and they'll complain. I literally saw someone on Twitter the other day and like they haven't played the game in months, like half a year, yet they're on like Twitter, like saying how bad the game is and like complaining about the game and complaining about updates. You don't even play the game, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like people are just so entwined, so in just like encapsulated with this toxic complaint environment that has manifested within the game itself. Do not get me wrong. The community, there's a lot of great in the community. There's a lot of great people in the community, but that mindset of complain has just it has completely taken the game by storm, and I feel really bad about it because I think that NGS has a lot that it can offer, but the community holds it back so much, even from day one, because the community constantly was like, "Oh no, I want this to be PSO2 base. This isn't PSO2 base. Oh, just so like pretty much everything that wasn't PSO2 base just got basically pooped on, you know." And so now, as a dev, you wanted to bring out this product, which was New Genesis, which you had your own view of what to have as, right? But now you have this whole community that's just complaining about it not being base PSO2. So now you have to switch things up. And you have to try to satisfy these people who are base PSO2 rambling in your ear. You feel me? And it's just, it's gotten to the point where it's just everyone complains. And so you wonder, if the game is struggling or, if new people aren't coming to the game. Do you know why that may be the case? It's because no one wants to go onto a game online and deal with people constantly complaining. You know what I'm saying? Like one person complains and then another person complains. Next thing you know, everyone's complaining because everyone acts like sheep. One person bad, the other 10 people bad, because that's just the mindset of a lot of people, very much follower mindset. That's just how that works. And that's one of the biggest issues, dude. That's just like it's just one of the biggest issues. And so like so often, like I understand that you have to understand also when playing an MMO, that not all of the content is necessarily going to be for you. You have to understand also that this is a game that is deeply rooted in gameplay. So when you have, people who are just fashion only players or people who are just like super casuals and stuff like that, you have to understand that there's going to be content that is released that may be a little too difficult for you. And it may have good rewards in there that you cannot readily obtain. There might be some RDR, there might be some low drop rates in there meant for the grinders. In the same sense that a lot of people, may not have cared for the creative space, or a lot of people don't care for the fashion. You have to understand that. But so many people do not understand that. So many people are just so encapsulated with just like their own way of thinking about it and not understanding the bigger picture. And even more so, to full circle back on that, so many people just complain about the game, yet they never have anything good to say about the game. Like I said, it's okay to have constructive criticism, but when everything you say is negative about the game, why the hell would someone want to come on and spend their day playing in the game? You surround yourself around these people who are constantly complaining. No wonder you don't enjoy the game, and now you're constantly complaining about the game. Because let's face it, For someone who has played MMOs for a long time, I played Final Fantasy 11 for 13 years. 10 years on retail, 3 years on private server. I led some of the top in-game link shells, alliances, guilds, whatever you want to call them, it's the same thing. As someone who has been playing MMOs for a long time, let me tell you, what really makes an MMO, it's not really the gameplay. It's not really, the fashion. It's not. What makes an MMO is the community. There's nothing appealing about a community that when you get on, you hear nothing but complaining and bickering and drama. That is global. And let's face it, I feel really bad about global because it has really gotten the blunt end of this. It's almost gotten the it's almost like FPS level complain and just whining toxicity. In some cases, not in all cases. Like I said, there's a lot of great, and by all means, it's 80% great. It's 20% the vocal complainers, you know, and it's just gotten so bad though. And like you'll see people who don't even really play the game much. They'll try the content once and then it's like, oh, this is trash content. Or it's like you'll see people just standing around and just complain. That's all they do. Now I hear when people are upset with like, drop rates or whatever, whatnot. Like, yeah, sure. That completely makes sense. I understand that you're upset with drop rates, but also understand that these things are meant to be played. So try out. Maybe it's not for you. If it's not for you, then GG, dude. It's not for you. So many people, we live in this society where people just want handouts after handouts after handouts. You know, the problem with that is that when you give them handouts, guess what? Guess what happens after that? They want more handouts. That's what happens. And that's what has continued to happen with NGS because NGS has started to give handouts. They start to like give the armors and stuff like that in the seasonal shop, try to balance things out. They basically handed out augments with the LCs, but it's never enough because people want things to be handed to them. They don't want to work for their stuff. And quite frankly, what Sega really needs to do, like honestly, what they really need to do is just, they give us something that's just super, super duper overly strongly powerful, but only like grinders can really get it, and it lasts for a real long time. Something like that's absurdly, you have to grindy. You have to be really good at what you do, but it's like the best thing in the game, and it will be for a long time. But you have to put a whole lot of hours into getting it. They could put something like that and then keep appeasing the casual people. But you know what? You know what's going to happen, right? The casual people are about, what? That's too hard. That takes too much time. I want that weapon too. I want that gear too. Oh, well, why don't you give us that for free? That's so dumb. Why don't you give us that for free? No, y'all don't want to put in the effort. Y'all don't want to put in the time. Take your stuff here. Leave it at that. Let the grinders be grinders, dude. Let the casuals be casuals. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can exist together. They all can exist together. But all you hear is constant complaining. All you hear is constant complaining from the lack of handouts, from everyone just wants things quick. And it's just like, I don't know, man. If there were one thing that made the game not appealing to a new player, it would be the community. Because you get on and you just see people constantly complaining. People sit in the lobby and they complain. They complain. If you don't play the game, you're not going to enjoy the game. If you don't give these things an opportunity, give them a try and shut them down before you even give them a few reps, some time to really test things out, then you're not going to enjoy the game. It's like, you look at Lucille Exploration, some people don't like that. Okay, understandable. You don't like that. But it's like, do you not like it because you've tried it on multiple days, on multiple attempts, with multiple different settings that's applied on those days? If so, okay, cool. You've come to an actual conclusion, not a pre-biased conclusion. Do you feel me? Because you've actually done it. You've done it on multiple days. You've tried it again and again and again. So okay, you've come to an actual conclusion. If you tried it once and then you're like, oh, this is garbage. And let's say you happen to try on a Boojin day with horrible buffs. You're like, oh, this is garbage. Now all you do is ramble and complain about it constantly. You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. Plain and simple. No one, like I said before, no one wants to get on a game and just hear people constantly whining and complaining.
Hey.
We get that in real life all the time, dude. You know what I'm saying? We get that in real life. Why the hell would I want to get on a game and hear people constantly complaining and whining? Bro, play the game. If you don't enjoy the game, then why the hell are you on the game? You know what I'm saying? If you don't play the game in the first place, then why are you complaining? You have no right to complain about the game. If you're not indulging in the content, then you have no right to complain about the content. Like it ain't rocket science, dude. It ain't rocket science. But
The live concert is on right
at the end
now
of the
in
day,
Pretend City.
that's just the shape of the internet, I guess. You have complainers. People love complaining. People love complaining, dude. That's the way the internet works, I guess. It's just complain, drama. Right? People love drama, right? People love drama. It ain't for me personally, but I figure I'd give some input on this because I figure it was needed. I try to keep things, real, 100, and I call it how I see it. So I felt that this viewpoint was needed on the situation because a lot of people aren't really addressing the community. Sure, the game could be better. The game's a gorgeous game, by the way. Especially if if you're playing it. Of course, it's not going to be that gorgeous if you're playing on a potato PC or, but the game itself is gorgeous. But I felt that I felt that someone needed to talk about it because no one talks about that. The global community is just it's honestly like, yeah, like I really don't want to say this, but in a sense, it's a cesspool. I'm just calling how I see it. It is, and it really is, and so understandably, the game has its issues, but a lot of them come from the community and the inconsistencies of the community and the whining of the community. Like I said, it's okay to have your opinions. It's okay to criticize as long as it's constructive criticism. The community does not understand that for the most part. And as a result, you get a lot more issues than we otherwise should get within the game and within communication with the devs and what they're putting into the game, what they're not putting into the game. Otherwise, it's a beautiful game. It's a lovely game. There's a lot of great people in this game. Don't be deterred by that. It's really about who you play with. And if you're always around negative minded people, then you're going to become negative minded.
How you doing?
Keep that in mind. If you're always around negative minded people, then you're going to become negative minded. If you're always around people who are constantly complaining, then you're not going to enjoy the things that you're doing either, because you're going to become one of those people who constantly complain. If you're around people who enjoy what they're doing, who have a mentality in which they enjoy what they're doing, then you're going to enjoy that much more as well. Also, it's going to permeate within you. It's simple, but there's just so much of the complaining, so much of the toxicity in the game. Hell, and just the online sphere nowadays didn't used to be like that, but it's what's praised nowadays. So, and unfortunately, NGS has gotten the blunt end of it. Like much harder for the most part. MMOs, like MMORPGs, MMO adventures, have pretty much kind of, for the most part, kind of dodged like the real heavily like FPS toxicity. However, I think NGS got it real bad. Like NGS Global got it real bad. Like I've never seen the level of like complaint and toxicity and just like cesspoolness as I've seen in NGS Global. And sometimes I feel like, like it was almost a mistake for them to release Global on base PSO2 on Xbox beforehand. But at the same time also it's like, they need that exposure. Like the game wouldn't be what it is as well because of the exposure was needed, right? So we wouldn't have the player base that we have if it weren't for that. but at the same time, it's like, you know, you spoiled these people with giving them so much of that content. You know, they gave, you know, PSO2 came out in 2012. I played it in 2012, JP. I played it till 2015. Then my laptop died, and then I got back into it in 2017. But you know, when Base Global release, that was what, 8 years of content. That came out in 2020, right? Global. That was 8 years of content that was flooded to them. And so as such, dude, it was just like these people got spoiled with that. And you have all these people with this spoiled mentality of getting this content, and they don't know any better. They don't know how to understand or realize that it takes time to do these things. It takes time to develop these things. It takes time for content to be released and for it to be released efficiently. And you pair this on top of the fact that all these people are playing NGS and they're still living in the past with base PSO2. I always tell people, dude, no, it was time to move on from PSO2 base because it was essentially the same format that they had been doing since 2000. I played PSO on Dreamcast back when it came out. PSO2 is the same format that they've been doing since 2000. So 20 years of that same format. It was time to move on to something towards the future. And NGS was necessary because PSO2 was on its last leg, and that format was on its last leg, period. If you do not agree with that, you have not been playing since Dreamcast. You started playing in Global or something like that. Because if you would know that realistically speaking, that was not sustainable. It had to change. It had to change because it was the same format for 20 years. But it is what it is. So all I can really say here is that as a member of the community, you know, if you're going to complain about the game, do it constructively. And if you really want the game to succeed, play the game. Try not to complain so much just because other people are complaining. Try to surround yourself around people who are not complaining so much. You know, try to actually enjoy the content with people. MMOs are all about enjoying the content with people. It's hard to enjoy the content with people if the people that you're playing the content with are constantly complaining. Naturally, you're not going to like the game that much. Hope you enjoyed my TED Talk. Spike content.